So if AI is giving us back our time during work, where are we spending it after work? Our next speaker knows where to go for both fun and recreation. Ismael Merchant is one of Asia's leading sport and entertainment venue designers who works as an architect for Populous, a global design firm that builds iconic stadiums and arenas. Most recently, Ismael contributed to Kai Tak Sports Park, a 28-hectare sports and entertainment precinct in Hong Kong. Cities and investors view sports as the new diplomacy to attract tourists and drive economic growth, and Ismael has witnessed firsthand how sports centers have helped revitalize districts, strengthen community, and bolster cultural engagement. And now, let's step into the arena with Ismael Merchant and Fortune's Nicholas Gordon.
Ismael, it's so great to have you here and have you talk about the Kai Tak Sports Park. I see it every day when I take the 101X Express bus back from our office in Kowloon Bay to my home in Kennedy Town. So I see that stadium every afternoon at 6 p.m. as I take the bus. And I believe we have some footage we're going to show in the background as we have this discussion. But so tell us a bit about the story of the sports park and kind of how you got involved.
Yeah, so Kai Tak Sports Park, actually sports architecture, if I want to speak a little bit about sports architecture, is fascinating because it kind of like lives in the core of tradition, culture, community, integration with the city. And with the Kai Tak Sports Park, we have the amazing opportunity to transform the Kai Tak airport, that it was like a unique icon for Hong Kong. I mean, probably some of you have been landing in Kai Tak Airport in the past, and it was part of the identity of the city. So we have a great responsibility to define that space that was not longer in use and transform it into a sports park. And that park actually, the brief had two clear instructions. It had to serve concerts and world-class events, but it also had to be integrated with community. It also had to serve the surroundings, the new area of Kowloon Bay. And with that, we have to focus our design for these two kind of like moments that they are so different between one another that they have to serve two different purposes and they have to actually respond to two different needs. So our design was focused to kind of like, probably seen Hong Kong's like a concrete jungle, like vertical buildings, very dense, very congested and concentrated. So we wanted to create an urban oasis where people actually could come and relax and enjoy the moment and just stroll around without not stress that Hong Kong is so related to. So we wanted to kind of like create that moment of peace in the chaos, in like the chaos of Hong Kong, where people actually could come and enjoy an afternoon with their kids or grandchildren.
And I do want to kind of drill into kind of your design approach for this project in a second, but before I do that, I mean, you said, you know, it's built in the old Kai Tak Airport. There is a lot of romanticism about that space. That's right. You know, it was one of these classic sites of Hong Kong, the airplanes, you know, flying over the buildings. You know, how have you tried to kind of work that heritage into the project?
So we have to remember that there is no longer an airport. Yeah. So the identity has changed into a sports park. But obviously we wanted to play homage to kind of like that sentimental feeling, that nostalgia that it was kind of like the Kai Tak Airport. So we have actually recovered, and especially during construction, it was fantastic because at the moment when we were digging, we actually found so many artifacts from the old airport, like the lights of the runway. We even found like one of the bombs from the World War II, actually, that was inactive. So it was like a big moment of the construction where we had to kind of like leave the site and everything for security purposes. But it was amazing that we were actually being built in a live site. And we actually kind of like took all these elements that we kind of like find out through the history. And we have actually built a small museum next to the main stadium, that it wasn't part of the brief, but it was great to kind of like keep that essence of what this place was once for the people to enjoy.
It's so funny. We romanticize the airport now, but if you look at the archives, everyone is always complaining about the airport. It's too small, it's in the middle of the city. So it's kind of funny that we now think of it with this kind of romantic idea. But I want to talk about the sports park now. And now, when you're looking at a project like this, when you're looking kind of building this complex, I mean, what are the sorts of design questions you have to think about, and kind of how did you answer them in the context of Kai-Tak?
Yep, that's a very good question, because we tend to design these, or we know that these massive buildings, I mean, they are not small and they require a lot of space in the city. They are urban catalysts. Mm-hmm. They have that amazing power to basically change completely the urban fabric of a city. And when it's done well, it actually can respond to the needs and offer a solution for the lacks of community of the city. I mean, Hong Kong, for example, with Kai-Tak, Hong Kong needed a world-class stadium. They needed that space where they could actually host and bring entertainment and put, again, Hong Kong in the map of events. I mean, there is a funny anecdote, because Hong Kong had a stadium already. It was a fantastic, where the Hong Kong Sevens were being hosted. But there is a funny anecdote, because the city continued growing, and it grew around the former stadiums of Hong Kong, and then the noise of a concert became a problem. And it was a funny anecdote. During one of the Michael Jackson concerts back in the 90s, they gave to people cotton globes. So when they were actually clapping for cheering for Michael Jackson, they were not actually bothering the surrounding neighborhoods. But then the former stadium actually became a little bit not responding to the needs of new artists, new events. And with Kai-Tak, talking about technology, it has it's probably one of the most technological advanced stadiums right now in the world, with the roof, openable roof that is located on top of the stadium. It doesn't have only the purpose of control weather, like you host events when it's raining, but that roof is so thick that there is no sound leakage. It's completely soundproof. So you could host a Metallica or AC/DC concert inside, and the neighbors around it, they will not hear a sound. So it will actually play well for the location of it is located.
And I want to talk about kind of, you call it an urban catalyst, that there's a way that these sorts of sports parks and these kind of developments can kind of invigorate a neighborhood, invigorate an area. There are also examples where maybe that doesn't happen. You know, you look at, like, people talk about, urbanism, urban design, and someone's always complaining, here's a stadium, it's surrounded on all sides by a giant car park. Like, that does not seem like it would be a development that might help a neighborhood. It might even degrade it. So when you're thinking about a sports complex, what do you have to keep in mind to make sure that it ultimately enhances the community rather than degrades it?
Good question. When we design stadiums, we just come with the concept in mind that these ones are not isolated objects inside a city, inside like a place. They need to be well connected, well integrated, well threaded with the community that they are located. Obviously, cultures and identities and ways of living in the US, I mean, the use of cars is more developed that probably in other places like Hong Kong. Then the transport, public transport is amazing, and everybody uses the MTR. But in the case of Hong Kong, we didn't have that massive space that we just could do whatever we wanted. It's a large space, but we needed to actually compact so many things on it. And the way that it was connected with the city is through so many connections that they are not only used as corridors for people to go, they are used as a passive wayfinding element where art is being located, traditional wayfinding is placed, so people actually can find their way around the space and go directly to where they want to be, or just rest and spare their time in different pockets of activities that we have placed around the entire space. So there is so many ways to enjoy and live Kai-Tak Sports Park.
And let's talk more broadly now, because you guys have worked on several of these sports complexes. You have another one being built in the Shah Alam Sports Complex in Malaysia. But given that you've worked on this kind of over decades, if not longer, I mean, what are some of the lessons that you guys have learned in developing these sports complexes, and how have they had to change to keep up with changing tastes, changing demand, changing uses? Like what's changed about how you think about a sports complex?
So I think all that comes a lot with the operations as well, and the design for the purpose that it has been or is going to be built. So there is a lot of talks with the operation teams that they're going to operate once it's open, and we need to make sure that these large complexes they are built for maybe one purpose. For like one games or like Southeast Asian games or something else, but they need to live beyond that event day. You need to make sure that those elements are going to be continually used by either future games or the community or teams around the place. So Selangor, for example, is different because it's built for one of the teams in Malaysia, for Selangor, which Hong Kong, in that case, the Kai Tak Stadium is not built just for one team itself. So
and not just for sports either, you know, Coldplay.
Correct. I mean, like you have to actually make sure that it's resilient enough and flexible enough to kind of like host all sort of types of events. I mean, it has been weddings, it has been conferences, it has been sports, concerts, e-sports games in stadium, and we're even building one in Middle East that is going to host like drone racing as well. So it's like, bring it on. I mean, new ideas are great to kind of like make those stadiums alive and full constantly.
And you know, and when you're thinking about a city, you know, I talk to cultural people in Hong Kong and they always complain how there aren't enough venue spaces, big or small. There was this viral photo a couple of years ago where it was like in Asia World Expo, Hall 1, Olivia Rodrigo, Hall 2, the Belt and Road Conference. And you don't have to talk about Hong Kong specifically, but you know, when it comes to thinking about cities as hubs for entertainment, as hubs for sports and arts and culture, I mean, what are kind of what's the balance between having these like giant venues and smaller mid-scale stuff to have a sustainable, entertainment sector like this?
Yeah, so that's a good question because actually I've been talking a lot about the Kai Tak Stadium, but the sports park is so much more as well. It has like it's a 50,000 spectator stadium, but also has like a 10,000 spectator arena and a 5,000 spectator sports ground. And with these three elements that they are like different in size, you could actually host all sort of programs, audiences, events that actually will respond to those different needs. I mean, you don't have every day a Coldplay event or a Taylor Swift coming into Hong Kong, but maybe you have like other local artists that they have also their audiences, and you need to actually kind of like cater for all these wide spectrum of users' interests. And that will help not just the operators to kind of like get their return of investments, but also like bring Hong Kong in the map and serve the community and bring the community more leisure, more elements, a place of the city where they can fully thrive and enjoy.
And so what are you thinking about when it comes to kind of sports and how communities experience sports going forward, with new technologies, new ways of live streaming, stuff like that, but like, do you see the way that people consume sports entertainment changing in the future, and do you see sports parks changing along with them?
100%. I think like these buildings are not static. I mean, I don't want to see them as static objects. They are dynamic. They are alive. Like every day, things need to change depending on the event that you're going to host. We had one of the concerts where the artists, they wanted to actually fly in the center of the stadiums on top of a moon. So you need to actually provide the infrastructure to support their vision, the ideas for that event. So it's great to see that the stadium has been designed resilient enough, flexible enough to actually be able to cater for all these human imagination. I mean, somebody spoke before about the human imagination. It's great that we are offering a canvas where those artists can bring and basically explore with the space, bring ideas, because ultimately that will echo into the user experience, which we are actually looking into. I mean, I like to call ourselves that more than architects, we are experience designers.
I maybe want to kind of close things off by asking not quite a personal question, but it seems like with a complex like this, you get to see, it's not that you just get to see your work being used, but you get to see your work being used in extremely large and bombastic ways, whether it's the Rugby Sevens, or the Coldplay concert, or most recently, I think, the National Games. You know, like, what's it like kind of seeing this project that you've worked on, like, be used in this, like, really kind of public and yeah, this really kind of public and large way?
And it's amazing. I mean, it's like, for me, has been the biggest reward has been attending one of the first events of the stadium. And have a funny anecdote that when I started construction, Kaitaki Sports Park, I got also my kids at the same time, and I've seen my kids and the sports park actually growing at the same time. And I thought that I knew about the sports park, everything, right? I mean, I've been like walking these construction alleyways for like 6 years in a row. But the moment that I went there with my kids to show them the first event that it happened, it was a completely new experience. I mean, it was like a whole new world of like ideas and feelings actually came to me because I saw the kids enjoying the space, the way that we were designing for it, and not just my kids, but every other's kids and families and people. It was, and athletes as well. I mean, we don't just design for the users, we design for the event organizers, we design for the athletes. So it was fantastic to see that everybody playing a key role and everybody happy with the result of Kaitaki Sports Park.
Well, I look forward to catching more mega events at the Kaitaki Sports Park. Ismael, thank you so much for joining us today and talking us through this great new project that just opened in Hong Kong. Please, everyone, give Ismael a round of applause.
Thank you.